Hey everybody, today I need to get a little cleanup done on these containers that I have back here. So I'm using what I have handy. So I have these snips here. I could use scissors or something simple like that on plants like this, like these petunias. But let me show you what's happening with these and what I'm exactly going to do. So let's take a closer look. So in this kind of situation, I'm just going to cut back some of these strays. I like to kind of come in at an upward angle and just cut back anything that I think doesn't look great. And I'm on the hunt for any of these dead branches because these aren't going to bounce back. And it's going to just improve the plant. Now, one thing you do have to realize though is if you look under here, there's a lot of ugly branches in there. Don't worry about those. I just leave them. You could keep cleaning them, but at this point they've gone so far that if I did do anything with them, they might look a little, it might kind of show up a little too much and be a little too much of a focus. So I'm just going to go through and cut this stuff back really gently. I've kind of leveled it off at the bottom. I'll just get what I can see out of here. And at this point in the season, I'm okay with there being, a little bit of dead stuff or it not being perfect. It's earlier in the season that I fuss a lot more. I'm just grateful to have these plants doing as well as they are. So let's just come over on this side. This is where those really bad ones are. So first I'm going to just cut out just these ends here because I don't think they're going to hold up too well. So now I'm just going to follow some of these branches in. Look at, they're just kind of falling off too. And I'm going to expect that there's going to be a bit of a hole here, and I'm okay with that. And I could start rotating this a little bit more as well. And if I rotate it, then, maybe the other side might look a little better. I think all of it's going to start kind of dwindling. We're at the end of our season here in northern Michigan. So every week we get out of these is just something we're going to be thankful for. So, okay, so not a perfect job, but a little bit better. I could trim some of this back too, but I don't want to go too crazy because I don't want it to be too noticeable because I don't know how much growth I'm going to get on this. Like I said, if this was 2 months ago, I'd give it a really hard trim back. But at this point in the season, because I don't know when we're going to start seeing frost, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So I'm happy where this is at right now. It's a little more level down here at the bottom. We're not seeing as many of those dead ones. Got the dead ones out of there. So this is a Supertunia Vista Paradise. Beautiful pink plant, been growing really nice and vigorous. I have some dead branches in here. I could try to clean that, but I have a feeling that if I started playing with that, I'd start ending with more bare spots and I'd do more damage than good. And then this here, that is the Coleus. That's the Volcanica Solar Flare, one of my favorites. And we have it with some of this lemon coral sedum, which is looking absolutely beautiful in there. That's such a nice trailing plant. Let's just show it here on this side. You can see it covers the entire pot. Really a reliable grower. Over here, this one looks okay. It's nice and full, but there are some problems with it. It's gotten aphids again. So it got aphids in the springtime. Then I sprayed it with 7, seemed to be okay. And now they're back, although I don't see them right now. But this is a Super Bells double white. This is the tea magenta petunia, and then this is the Gulf cruspedia, and that one's been struggling a lot, but the aphids really seem to like that one, at least in my case. They haven't been too hard on the petunia that's in here, and then I also have some trailing mizu or Dorothianthus, and so we do get a really nice coverage on here, but right now we are seeing kind of a lull in the petunia, and that was directly correlated to when I started seeing the aphids. Kind of all the flowers went away. I think I need to maybe up my fertilizer game here, because if I keep fertilizing all these annuals right now, I will continue to get more flowers on them. Annuals you can kind of trick that way. I wouldn't do that with perennials or with shrubs or anything, but with annuals you definitely can. Here is the, hot-blooded lantana. The hummingbirds have been all over this one, so I'm really glad we tucked it in here, and it pairs really nice with the Vermillionaire Kufia, which also the hummingbirds love. So this is just like hummingbird hub right here. This one over here has this Truffula Pink Gomphrena, which is kind of taken over. It's a little wild looking, so you have to be okay with it looking wild like this. It does have brittle branches, which is a little frustrating. Next year, I think I'm going to try the ping pong purple Gomphrena in one of my containers, just to see how that does. I am very happy though with this lantana. This is the Bandolero Lychee, beautiful. This is the Super Bells double yellow. This one also had gotten some aphids, but I think they've kind of managed to get through that pretty well. And then this is some Lysmachia. This is the Goldilocks, and it trails so nicely. It looks good in there. So happy with this one. This one over here is struggling a little bit. The Salvia is doing great. Sorry, I got to move some furniture to get over there. This is the Rockin' Blue Suede Shoes. I really like this Salvia, but this is the planter that I had to pull out the petunias I had in here because they had gotten attacked by aphids. And I put in these begonias, and the begonias are flowering okay, but they never really took off in here. I think it just was too late, in all the other plants had already been established, and so the begonias just never were able to catch up, but I have those. So those are Nonstop Fire. And then this here is some more Lysmachia, another variety, just the full green one. Over here, this is another container that's just in way too much shade, but we're fine with it. So the Supertunia Bermuda Beach is able to get just enough sun to, flower over here. And we do get occasional flowers off of the Superbena Cobalt Verbena, but the rest of it, just there is not enough sun coming under this tree to be able to get good flowers off this. So if we moved it, we'd get more. Over here, I love this little vignette we have going on here. So this is the this is an alocasia called Regal Shield. Absolutely beautiful. Do have to watch, it's under the tree, so we get some bird action going on. And then inside, there's just some Nonstop begonias tucked in there with some Lysmachia. I am still in love with this combination. This is one I had found just with some plants from the big box store. So this is the Rocapoco Rose Double Impatient. It's been going nonstop, just keeps blooming, really nice. And then that's that Rex begonia that I found. Didn't really have a name or anything, and it's been doing really well. And we have been neglecting these completely. So there has been no cleaning, deadheading, nothing like that. And then this Griffin begonia. I'm always a fan of the Griffin. And look at how many new ones are coming. And the nice thing about these plants, even though like in the springtime, impatiens and begonias and these plants are super sensitive to the cold, they do okay in the fall. Now I will say, like, the impatiens and the coleus are usually the first ones to go out of flower, or just kind of wilt out when we get a cold spell. But a lot of these other plants are going to hold up even when we start getting cold nights. Now my King Tut grass has been sucking up tons of water. I did have a petunia in here that just wasn't able to hold up, that the King Tut just wanted all the water. And so the petunia didn't do so well. And when I clean these, I do try to cut the fronds or these stems as far down as possible, because if you don't, you end up with some brown sticks. But all these are doing okay, although some of these are kind of going into the aisle or walkway here. So I'm just going to cut those off. I don't think it's going to be too big of a deal. And then, yeah, I could cut some more off over there, but I think this is good for right now. Our raised bed of peppers is doing pretty good. Look at the size of this one, looking good. And then we do have an Rockin' Fuchsia Salvia, hummingbirds all over this. And then that is the Supertunia Hoopla Vivid Orchid Petunia in there. And that one is just now starting to kind of wind down with its blooms. And that's because we've been bad with the water. So you can see that's all water stress going on in there, but it's still holding up even though we've been neglecting it. And let me show you, I'll show you some of the hydrangeas. The early evolution hydrangea staying nice and small, not going to get much bigger than this. This is a Limelight Prime hydrangea, getting some decent color on this already. And then the Pinky Winky Prime, you can see these huge flower panicles on it, and those are starting to change as well. The Invincible Ruby, you're not going to see much. Those are the ones in the back. They're not going to look like much. Hopefully by next year they're going to bounce, get some good root space and do really well. This one here is a Bobo, getting a little color on that one as well. And then this is the Quickfire Fab. So this is the early bird one, as far as it blooms a little early, changes color early. The Skyview hydrangea, so we are getting some new blooms off of this. So those were the original blooms when I planted it. Lots of new growth, so I'm happy to see that we were able to get some new bloom on that. And then over here, that is the Invincible Sublime. So again, these flowers still look great even when they're done and they're kind of drying out. And then this one here is the Tough Stuff Top Fun. And so this one did get a new bloom coming off of it. I didn't cut off any of the blooms. I think I'm going to leave them until spring and cut them later. Another Invincible Sublime. And then this is the Love a Lot Pink. And this one, we had trimmed it back earlier in the season, so it didn't get any blooms this year, but that's only because we had cut them off earlier. But this one's looking pretty good. Here again is that Volcanica Solar Flare Coleus, and this is just some Lysmachia. I had just took some cuttings and I just set them in the dirt, and that's kind of, they took off and they kind of went from there. So that was just a nice little addition there. So the big flowers at the top, those are Incredible hydrangeas. They are leaning a little bit, and that can be expected at times. So that's kind of the case. But the real exciting plant for me has been this canna. I just absolutely love the striped leaf on it. Really, really interesting. And I can't remember the name. Petunias or something was the name on the package. Other people have called it Cleopatra as well. And when I looked it up, it looks like they're about the same. Right now, I'm not getting any real blooms on it, but there are more coming. So this thing keeps going. It's just taking a break right now, but it has these beautiful yellow flowers with freckles, and then it gets random red stripes on the flowers. So I wish I had a good example to show you, but there can be, some of them are really, really red and some of them are really, really yellow. And then I had these other annuals that I had just tucked in and put in. And then over here, this is one of the marigolds I started from seed. I do need to do something with this petunia here. So this is a Color Rush Purple, and this one is one that we had missed watering and it really was suffering. And it's not dead. I could probably trim it back and it would come back, but we don't have a lot of time. So I'm gonna just pull it out. And we had a funeral this week and someone had sent us this celosia and given it to us. And I thought, you know what, let's just tuck it in here. I think that's gonna be a nice addition. And it was such a thoughtful gift, and I think we'll give it a nice prominent spot right here. This plant here is something I had never grown before. This is a lotus vine called Parrot's Beak, and I just think it's amazing how big it's gotten, and it's just got this nice trailing action. It does shed, as you can see, but just kind of nice. My geraniums haven't been doing too much in that one, but I also have this charged up, I think it's Dragonheart coleus here. That's doing really well. Look at the size of that, nice and big. And then I had started some of these ground tomatoes or ground cherries, and right now we kind of neglected it, so it wasn't watered, so it dropped some leaves. But when it drops its fruit, these are so tasty. Let's see, yeah, this one's ready to go. Absolutely delicious. And so it's a nice addition. I'm so glad. I'm definitely gonna be growing these in the future. Also have, this is a shamrock there. That there is another coleus. And then the hostas that I put in are doing pretty good. They are suffering from some slug damage. The hellebores are doing just fine. And then, of course, that snow on the mountain, I've done nothing with this, so I'm gonna really have to combat this next year, because otherwise that snow on the mountain is gonna just take over. And every single plant that I put in here is doing very, very well. So I did put some lantana that's more of that hot-blooded, so that's an annual. But a lot of these other plants, and I have a whole video on this, they are all perennials, and I'm just gonna wait and see which ones come back and which ones maybe don't do as well. And then whatever does well, I'm gonna do, put more of them in. I started those marigolds from seed as well. Boy, these bees are just having a great time with it. And then you can see everything is just taking off. I mean, just look at how, these were just little plants when I tucked them in, and they're just kind of going and going. And then I did put this thyme right here because I kind of thought this is kind of where the mailman walks. So we'll put something that if he walks over, it doesn't really matter. And then this Gaillardia here is struggling. I don't know, possible maybe a dog peed on it, or it's just not having a good time here, but it's only half the plant. And then this butterfly flower. This thing has been blooming nonstop and just beautiful. More of our marigolds in here. The cosmos, that one's kind of finishing up, although it keeps sending up more blooms. And then the Picote one, it hasn't bloomed a whole lot. I don't know if it actually keeps breaking on branches as well. So you can see we had a couple of them. So I think it's just getting damaged quite a bit over here. But hey, I'm super happy with how these are doing. So we did pretty good.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm impressed. Let's pat on the back.